besties. If you're new here, I'm Lexi and this is my YouTube channel. So in this week's video, I decided to try mood reading again. Meme, please stop crying. Nobody's being hurt. I had previously done a mood reading vlog and I cannot remember what I read in that video, but I decided, I'm tired of sticking with these TBRs. I want to really pick up books that I'm in the mood for reading. Hence why I'm not holding up any stack of books, because who knows what I'm about to read. The video that I previously did was reading romance books, and I'm still in the mood for some romance books, so I feel like that's what I might pick up next. We'll see. I have a bunch of romance novels sitting on my shelves. The concept of mood reading is that you just kind of pick up what you're feeling in that moment, and if you're not feeling the vibe of that book anymore, you set it down and you pick something else up. So I don't know if I'll be successful with this. I am a very completionist. If I start a book, I want to be able to finish that book. I don't like to be reading like multiple books at once. I'll look at the list of books that I want to read, and then we'll kind of just go from there. I'll check in with you once I know what book that I have decided to pick up. Good morning, everybody. I have finished The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, and it was fine. Just to recap the premise of this, we have our bodyguard here. I'm already forgetting her name. And then we have Jack. He is a famous actor, and she's assigned to protect him because he has a stalker, and they live in Texas, and his mom has cancer, so she's sick. And so he's like visiting his parents. Her mom recently passed away. In order for her to be his bodyguard without anybody thinking that there's anything suspicious going around, they decide to fake date. So he basically tells his parents like, oh, this is my girlfriend. And during their time at the ranch, at his parents' ranch, they develop feelings and fall for each other. Now, that all sounds really well, but it feels like the chemistry was very rushed, and it also feels like a lot of side characters were not developed enough. It's kind of like an outlandish premise of it. It felt like a rom-com, but the thing is, it's just like not a rom-com that I would prefer. Like, I finished this book last night and I haven't thought about it once. This is not something that I'm going to pick up again. My other issue with this book is that it's not told in dual POV. So we're just getting our main female characters, like her POV of this. In most romance novels, I need dual POV because I want to see what the guy's thinking in his head, and we only get her perspective of it. So a lot of times I'm just like, what is he thinking? And I think that's why I felt like the romance came out of nowhere, because it felt to me, just like reading in her perspective, that he developed feelings for her basically out of nowhere. And then my other issue with this book is that there is basically no spice. There is not even a fade to black. I think they probably kissed maybe twice in this entire novel, and there was no sex scene. This book could have benefited from a sex scene. Sorry guys, my battery died. What was I saying about this? I think I was saying that how there was very little spiciness in this, and it could have benefited from even just fade to black. I don't know if this is a debut novel by Catherine Center, but I feel like she could work a little bit more on developing the feels between the two main characters and benefit from writing from some spicy, sexy scenes. Again, I didn't hate it. It was fine. It was such a quick read that I was just kind of meh. I'm not going to look back at this and think fondly of it. Honestly, I'm considering unhauling this and selling it on Pango. I know this is a book of the month version of this. I will never think about this ever again. So anyways, moving on from that, I was really living my romance novel era until I read The Bodyguard, and now I kind of don't want to read romance anymore. So what I am going to read now is I'm going to pick up Girl Girls Don't Die by Christina Henry. Now this one, Mayday, stop with the chasing your tail. So this one is following 3 stories about 3 women where something kind of mystery-ish is happening with the stories that they're telling. And I think this is a thriller. Let's read this because it's been a while since I've read a thriller, and this is kind of what I'm in the mood to pick up right now. I don't want to look at a romance novel again after reading The Bodyguard, so we'll pick up this. I'll check in with you guys when I'm done, or maybe halfway through reading this. I haven't followed up with you guys in a little bit in terms of life updates. In my previous vlog, I would have stated that the manager that I have right now did something to me that was so vile that I had to take a day off of work just to mentally get my head in the right space. And then the other thing that happened to me is the check engine light went off in my car. So I had to take it to Kia, and I'm like, hey, can you guys take a look at this and tell me what's wrong with my car? And that was on Friday. Today is Monday, and they still don't know what's wrong with my car. So I had to get a loaner car from them this morning because I forgot that I had a job interview later today where I have to actually like physically be there. And so that's what I'm gonna do. But my food is gonna arrive in the next couple minutes here. So I'm gonna quickly eat something and then go to my job interview. I had a job interview this morning for an internal position at the company that I already work at, and there's no way I'm getting that job. Like, they practically said it on the call that I was not gonna get that job. So we can just set that one behind me and forget that it ever existed. Circling back to the loaner car situation, let me show you the ugly ass color that they gave me. That monstrosity over there is the car that they told me is my loaner car until my car is fixed. And it is the ugliest shade of orange that has ever existed. My plan is right now I am going to eat my food once it arrives, scarf that down, and then I'm gonna go to that interview. And then after that interview is done, I need to go to Whole Foods. I might just stop at Half Price Books since the place that I'm interviewing is near the Half Price Books and near the Whole Foods down there. I might do that. I'll check in with you guys later. Checking in with the Besties. I am about 2/3 of the way done with Good Girls Don't Die, and I am loving it so far. So this story has really 3 stories in it, and we're following 3 women. The first story, we're following Celia, and she wakes up in a house with her daughter and her husband, and she's like, I don't have a daughter, I don't have a husband. What is going on? She really feels like she has like been kidnapped and kind of like plopped down into this world or this scenario where she has like no idea who she is. So she figures, let me just play along until I figure like what's going on here so I can get back to my regular life. And along the way, there were some twists and turns in the first story. It definitely feels like Don't Worry Darling, where it's kind of implied that the husband has something to do with it. And then the second story, we're following Allie, and her 2 friends and their boyfriends decide to take a little trip to this cabin. Initially, they were supposed to go to this beach for Allie's birthday so they could do like a girls' weekend celebration, but instead the boyfriends are like, no, let's go to this cabin. And while they're at the cabin, it turns into kind of like a horror story because they're slowly being picked off one after another. Allie starts to realize that the scenario doesn't seem real. She's like, this house is built with no doors, there's no windows, there are no bugs outside. It feels like this is being staged, and that's very much what the first girl, Celia, in her story felt like. She's like, oh, it feels like she's in a movie where everyone's saying to her feels like a line that's being fed to her, and she's like expected to respond. And both stories ended in the same way, which is making me think now about what is going on in this book. So I'm starting to like have some hypotheses, and I'm starting to like kind of guess maybe what the ending is. So I am just gonna make some guesses here, and if I'm right, I'm probably gonna cut this part out. So my guess, so that's kind of like what I'm thinking is happening in this book, but we shall see. I have the final story, which I don't know. It says Maggie. She wants to be home with her daughter and is in a dangerous situation, doesn't know who put her there or why. She'll have to fight with everything that she has to survive. I am loving this so far. I mean, this might be a 5-star read, but it really depends on how it wraps up, how part 4 goes. Part 4 is supposed to be like where all their stories come together and like the twist is revealed. And normally in like thriller or horror books, that ending has to stick the landing in order for it to be 5 stars. But right now I'm like 4 or 5 stars. We shall see. So I'm gonna keep reading. I will definitely be finishing this today. I think I have like 100 or so pages left to go. So I'm curious as to what's gonna happen. I will check in with you guys once I'm done with this. It is snowing. I think we're about to get a foot of snow, and it is the last week of March. Sometimes I hate living in the Midwest. Okay guys, I finished reading Good Girls Don't Die last night, and I gotta say, it's a 5-star read, besties! So the last story, we're following Maggie, and she gets plopped down into like this arena. Think of it as a cross between the Maze Runner and the Hunger Games. And there are like 20-ish women in this arena, and they are forced to go through these obstacles and survive. The people who are putting them through this maze have a loved one held captive, so they're being forced to do everything. But then the ending of this ended just the same way as the other 2 stories did. And then the 4th part is kind of like the reveal. And let me tell you, I know a lot of people on Goodreads are like hating on the reveal for this, but I love it. I could actually see a person doing this to women. All I have to say about the ending is men are sick. I should have watched back the footage of where I guessed kind of the ending of this, because I think I was right actually. But you know what? I'm not mad that I was able to guess it. I really like the ending of this. I really like this book. 5 stars to Miss Christina Henry. I am not one that gives out 5 stars a whole ton. So like, you did it, bestie. You did it, girl. Towards when I got to the 4th part, I was just flipping the pages so quickly because I like wanted to know. I wanted to know what was going on. And you know what? Like I said before, I could buy. I could believe into the bad guy that did the thing, because like I said before, men are idiots. Men are stupid. Men are sick. Anyways, now that we're done with that, I am going to pick up another book. What am I feeling right now? Like, what am I feeling? I wanted to pick up Artemis by Andy Weir because I read Project Hail Mary and I read The Martian, and I love those books. Those are 5-star books from me. And so Artemis is one that he wrote like quite a while ago, I think, but it's had some really bad reviews on Goodreads. And so I just don't want to pick up something that might be bad right after I just finished this 5-star read. So I think what I'm going to pick up is I'm going to pick up the First Sister book. I do own that one. I don't have it with me right now at my mom's house. It's at my dad's apartment, but I did just get it on Libby. I'm going to read that next, and then I will check in with you guys once I'm like halfway through it to give you, you know, kind of my thoughts. But this vlog is going so well right now. I am like, feel like I'm a mood reader. Like, I feel like I can't plan out my TBRs because they're always like for a concept. Last video I did was for a concept of like reading romance novels until I feel like the love in my heart again. But sometimes it's just like, I just want to pick up books that I'm like in the mood for, and they don't fit any type of concept, which is like why I like videos like this. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick up First Sister. I'm gonna get going. Guys, I have finished reading First Sister. I practically read this in one sitting. This story is in a sci-fi setting where we have different factions in this war. So we have one part of the war is like people who obey this kind of like motherhood, where they have sisters, and the sisters are that forced to be like kind of like concubines almost. And then the other side of the war are these people who are very like technologically advanced. They are basically warring for each other for this like planet called Ceres. We're following 3 main characters in this. So we're following Hero and we're following Leto, and they are both like partnered duelists, so like partnered soldiers. And then we're following the First Sister. She doesn't have a name other than First Sister. She's a concubine on this ship, and like as a sister or part of like the motherhood, their role is to like take confessions of soldiers or the warriors that are on the ship or on the planet. So right now at the beginning of the story, she is gonna run away with the captain of the ship. Like once the captain decides to like own you, like they can do that, you can become like their permanent like wife, I guess. But the captain decides to like leave her, and then the new captain comes on board, and the new captain's name is Saito Ren. But they strike up kind of like a friendship that turns into a romance. And then we have Hero, who has kind of like disappeared, and we're really only hearing his story through recordings. Hero and Leto both have like feelings for each other, but Hero has gone missing, and Leto has then been tasked with the mission to kill the mother. So there's one person in charge of it, of all like the motherhood. He's been tasked to kill the mother, and he's been tasked to kill Hero because Hero has been a traitor. Apparently there was a big war that we kind of glossed over in the beginning of this book between Ceres and the Ikari. Like Leto and Hero are in the Ikari. But there was this big war where basically they faced off against Saito Ren and like, you know, attacked her and stuff, and she's thought to be dead, but she's not. And Hero was kind of like the mastermind in helping the Ikari lose Ceres, or like losing a battle in the war. So Hero is considered like a traitor to the Ikari. So Leto, who was also in that war and he was hurt and he was damaged, he's like, the big commander dude, he's like, we're giving you the task of killing the Motherhood because that's going to help our war efforts, and we're giving you the task of killing Hero because he's basically a traitor. None of that probably made any sense because this world's kind of complicated to describe. But basically what I'm trying to say is that I like this book. I gave it 4 stars. I docked a star because of how hard and difficult it was to like kind of understand. Just like the best way to think about it is like if you think about Dune, you know how they have the Ben Gesserit? Those are the Motherhood in this world, and then they have Timothée Chalamet's character who's like on the planet, and then they have like the white bald guys that are like in the war. Just think of it like that. Just so 2 warring factions. But then the other thing that we realized about this is that there are people called the Asters, and they're genetically like modified people, and the Ikari are using them to like as like lab rats, and the Ikari want to be like their own people. So there's a lot of just like moving parts to it. Like if you got a big brain, you can probably figure it out better than I can. What I liked about this is like everyone's motivation made sense. They did feel like real people. There's a non-binary character in this book, and I was like, yay, representation, and some lesbians in here. This is like literally probably not making any sense to you guys, but what I'm trying to say is that I really like this book. I'm giving it 4 stars, and I'm really glad that I finally found a sci-fi like opera that I can get behind. I do own the second book. It's called The Second Rebel. That's up there somewhere. I'm not pointing to it. It's there. Just believe me, it's there. I don't want to get further into this because I feel like I've already said too much by explaining like basically kind of like the plot of this book. But just to recap for you it all, these are the books that I read this week. So I started reading The Bodyguard, which I gave 3 stars. Now that I'm getting further and further away from this book, I'm thinking of maybe giving it 2 stars because once I finished reading this book, I don't remember her. I don't think about her ever again. This was not really a good romance. I mean, like, it was fine, but very forgettable. And then I read Good Girls Don't Die, and this was 5 stars. This was one of the greatest thriller horror novels that I have read. Like, I highly recommend you guys pick this up. Ending of this was clutch. I could totally see the ending of this happening in the real world. And then like I just said, I finished reading The First Sister, 4 stars. I feel like the mood reading thing really worked for me because I'm someone that's hard to stick to a TBR. Like, honestly, when I start a book, I'm gonna finish it. So maybe I guess in a sense, mood reading didn't work for me because I guess with mood reading, it's like if you're not feeling to read the book, you pick up something else. But I'm not the type of person where I'm just like, I pick up a book, I want to finish it. I am not the type of person that is trying to read multiple books at once. I can't do that. I got one track mind. I don't have a lot of brain cells up here, so I can only focus on one story at a time. All in all, I would say that this is a success. I would give mood reading a chance. I would do it again, honestly, and I probably will. If you like this video, please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment, and check that notification bell so you know when I'm uploading next. Thank you guys for watching and have a good day.